What I saw at my town's meeting this week regarding the future of solar farms in this area disturbed me, and I feel that people across our country right now need to be made aware of it. I went to this meeting to give a speech in support of the law that my town drafted, the town of Saratoga. It's a really amazing law that I hope people check out. They put a lot of time and effort into it. A lot of different environmental studies went into the impacts that these solar farms are going to have on our arable farmland, not to mention taking out what is left to feed us in this country. I can go in later in the video into all the reasons why solar farms make no sense when these solar panels could go on shopping malls, retail strips, parking lots, highways, as solar canopies, all of that, and these solar companies know it. I got up and I spoke in support of the law. I will actually share my speech with you guys here because I do believe there are talking points in it that other people can use to go out to your town meetings and speak out against these solar farms, because if we don't all do something now, we have a serious problem on our hands. They are grabbing this land, this $24 trillion worth of American farmland that is changing hands as farmers retire right now. They are grabbing this land more rapidly and aggressively than anybody wants to admit or talk about. I'm here with the receipts in this video to tell you more about what I saw at this meeting. After I was done giving my speech, I sat down and a gentleman around my age stood up after me. He went up to the podium and started to speak out in support of solar farms. He was asked, "Who are you and where are you from?" He had to disclose he was sent to my town in upstate New York from a solar empire out of Santa Monica, California, that had done a concerning level of research about the land in my little town. I am not in a very populated area on purpose. You usually find farms not in very populated areas. The closest town over is a village, the village of Schuylerville, and this gentleman had been dispatched from a company 3,000 miles away to come shoot down a law in my little town. He later on went to say that he is sometimes based out of Long Island. If you know the geography of New York State, that is still about a 5-hour drive from Saratoga County. I am in way upstate New York near the Adirondack Park. All of that right off the bat was very concerning to me. Why would a corporation in California be dispatching someone to come shoot down a law that was drafted for the citizens, for the residents of this town, not anybody else? I was pleased that my town let him know at the end of his spiel that the law was drafted for residents. It was not drafted with commercial purposes in mind. This gentleman got up to make the case for Tier 3 solar farms, aka the largest form of solar farms. Tier 1 and Tier 2 are smaller and involve having solar personally on your home, on your roof. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with the actual concept of solar energy. I have no problem with renewable energy. I have a problem with taking the land you see behind me and turning it into a sea of solar panels that have to be fenced in with, it'll look like a prison. They have to have industrial lighting shown on them, which if you have a pollinator farm like me, there goes all the moths, dragonflies, everything else. These solar panels can be put in smarter places. That was my argument at this meeting. Luckily, my town felt the same with me. I was in good company. I did not feel like I was outnumbered or anything like that. I gave a speech on behalf of my farm and the pollinator farm that I have started here. There are unique environmental circumstances that I need to be able to run a pollinator farm, like no pesticides or pesticide drift. The amount of pesticides applied to solar farms to keep the vegetation below the solar panels is astronomical. Once he was done making his case for their solar company in California and talking about all the lots in my town that would be desirable for their Tier 3 farms, which start at 50 acres or more, he sat down. The rest of the meeting concluded. When the meeting was over, we all headed to the parking lot to head home. This gentleman cornered me in the hallway, not aggressively, to try and make his case to me and tell me why my speech was wrong or why I should listen to him. He proceeded to contradict himself in a way that I feel needs to be shared now with people. I know if you don't live in the country, if you haven't been approached to sell your farmland, you might not be aware of how aggressive these solar companies are, and that is what piqued my interest here. That is what I didn't like. Many farmers around me tell me solar companies have come to them not once, not twice, 3 to 6 times to pressure them to rent their land over to them. They cut them a check that's very hard for the farmer to refuse, and these solar companies know this. This solar company in California is so hungry to buy up the 50 plus acres of farmland in my town that they dispatched a person 3,000 miles to come shoot it down and then convinced me otherwise in the hallway. So when he tried to make the case to me that solar farms can be good for pollinators, I can make a whole other video of all of the ways solar farms are absolutely catastrophic for the environment, for pollinators, for endangered animals, for animal migrations. I will have to save that for a separate video. But in the beginning of our discussion, he tried to say to me that, oh, the farmers in this area have called up them. They're just doing their due diligence. By the end of the conversation, he had admitted that these solar companies are the ones approaching the farmers, and that the narrative that the farmers are calling the solar companies is completely false, and it is a lie that they are pushing to make farmers feel more comfortable selling out to them. While we were also having our discussion in the parking lot, it came out that a lot of the power generated in these rural areas doesn't even stay here. It is sent to large cities nearby. So in upstate New York, for the entirety of upstate New York, we are bled out for New York City. New York City is 3 hours away. The politicians, the governor, all that fancy New York City, they take everything from up here and it goes to New York City. The solar power generated would be no different. That was admitted by the end of this conversation, that New York City has increasing power demands that they can have met by snatching up our land that quite literally feeds us and feeds New York City. More people have spoken to me since then to tell me they have been pressured by these solar companies to sell their land. In some instances, the solar companies have showed up at their literal doorsteps, knocked on the door, and basically not won't leave, but won't take no for an answer when they offer them a financial package that they know is incredibly desirable. I would go so far as to, I have heard stories from people that these solar companies are quietly pressuring elected officials in towns to pass legislation that will make it easier for them to take 50 or more acres and turn it into a solar farm. I come to you with this information today not to fearmonger, not to be emotional, not to do any of that. I come with this information to share with you an honest public exchange and meeting that I attended. There are minutes from this meeting. You can go ahead and look them up if you do not believe what I'm sharing with you. Anybody who has studied history knows anytime a group, a corporate group, a group backed by government funding and grant funding, which all the solar companies are here in New York State because the governor loves it. Anytime a group backed by the government or corporation starts pressuring citizens to hand over their land, I don't need to go any further into what is at play here. If what was happening here was farmers were calling up these solar companies saying, oh, I'm interested in agrovoltaics, which is the process of intermixing solar panels with agriculture, can provide shading for the plants under it, all of that, I wouldn't be making this video. These farmers not only aren't doing that, they're the ones being pressured, and they're being pressured to rent over their entire farm that is bulldozed and set up in a monoculture solar panel type of setting. They know what they're doing when they call it a solar farm too. It's anything but a farm. Not a single byproduct is created for our well-being for anybody in this area, and any of the power generated doesn't stay here. I'm sure that's the case in all states across the country right now. The amount of people writing in on my stuff from states from California to Texas to Missouri talking about these solar farms that are going up in our rural areas is alarming. It's nationwide. It's not just happening here. My neighbor across the street who owns 100 acres told me he will never sell. If he did sell, I looked it up, it would bring my property value down 7%. Many farmers cannot afford to have that happen to them. They can barely keep their operation afloat as it is. Once we no longer have our own farmland, where is our food going to come from? I asked him this. And I also said to him, why can't these solar panels go over the highway? You and I both know we have the technology to create solar canopies. Solar canopies are in Europe and Japan. Why can't they come here? He said to me, well, the regulatory process to get that done, to get these solar panels into cities would be much harder. There you have it. They're out in the country right now because they know they can strong arm these small village and town governments to give them what they want. They're making backdoor deals. They're showing up at your back door and they are pressuring farmers to sell. It needs to be talked about. I encourage a discussion to occur below. For anybody who is not understanding what I'm saying in this video, I will just reiterate one more time. I have no problem with the actual concept of solar energy. I own my own portable solar panel that I will be bringing with me to a music festival next weekend. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with what is happening, the land grab that's going on, and what happens to the land when they're done with it. I will leave you with this. A hailstorm last year in Texas and a hailstorm the year prior in Nebraska damaged thousands of solar panels on their multi-thousand acre solar farms they have set up out in these bigger states. Toxins like lead leached out of these solar panels into the land below the panels, creating a Chernobyl-like situation that will take hundreds of years for that soil to be arable again. If they try and tell you that you can farm the land when they're done with their solar panels in 25 years. They are full of it. I also looked this up. Hailstorms are increasing in size and prevalence in our country due to the changing weather, and the size of the hailstones has doubled over the last 20 years because of the changing weather. Like I said, I'm coming with the receipts. I have so much more I would like to share on this. If there's other angles you want me to take or explain, please write in below. If you are concerned about this topic, or if you are concerned about the land around you and solar farms, please, I encourage you to subscribe and follow along. I will be covering this on my channel, as well as the land revolution we do find ourselves upon. Since the average age of the American farmer is over 60, these solar companies know it, and they are moving in to buy and rent this farmland from the farmers before it makes its way into the next generation of farmers' hands, like myself. We're only going to get one chance to defend this land, and when it's gone for good. I posted my speech earlier in the video. Please feel free to copy it, take it, do whatever you want with it, and if you bring it to your town board, if you feel called to go to your town meeting to stand up against these, bravo. Let me know about it below. With that, I will be back soon, and I will be taking you guys along for the ride with this entire experience. I do anticipate having to give another speech soon for the hearing regarding this law, and once the law is passed in my town, I will also be sharing that with you guys. Sorry that was a heavy topic. It does need to be shared. With that, I will be back soon. Bye.